been enjoying all the speakers. I think this is a really great segue in terms of the conversations. And from our perspective, from a marketer's perspective, social media rarely represents the pinnacle of what we have always looked for in terms of engaging with customers and prospective customers. If you think about traditional advertising and from a broad-based perspective, billboards or even online ads, very much putting your information out there and hoping to connect with a small percentage of the right people. Then we moved to search engine marketing, where we gained a lot more opportunity in connecting with individuals that they were looking for a particular service or some type of a topic in particular where they are looking for that information, and we were able to place an ad at that specific time period. Social media is that next step. It's somebody talking about something or showing interest in a particular area, having the opportunity to display information at that time, but rather than it being an ad, and rather than it being an automated textual element, it's a personal conversation. So for the first time from a marketing perspective, we're able to truly have a one-to-one conversation with our customers and with our prospects, and that's what we have always looked for. Along with that, there are some catches. The fact that those one-to-one conversations are not just one-to-one. They are very public, and they're viewed by everybody. But there's a lot of opportunity in that. So I'm going to cover a lot of ground, and I hope that I can provide you with some good information. I'm going to skip this slide because I think Brian did a great job just kind of covering what we do and who we do it for. So I want to talk about the new marketing economy, and what that means is really how the internet has changed marketing models. And more specifically, now that we're talking about social media, how that's really adding a very strong next chapter to the book of marketing. Talk about what it means for marketers, talk about how to enter this conversation in social media, talk about social media as a critical channel, which it most certainly is. It covers just about everything that we're touching in marketing. Give you all a first step in social media if you're just embarking on it for the first time, and then finally talk about what the future holds for us. So just to go back in time a little bit, I'm not going to go too far, but internet marketing really hitting late 90s through 2004. That's when things like websites, search engine marketing, email marketing, online display ads came on the scene. Interestingly, today we can almost consider these traditional marketing channels. 2005 and 2006, the phrase Web 2.0 first started being utilized, and that was when we started talking about user-generated content. Blogs and podcasts first appeared. I remember we were involved with the 2003 race when Sam Cass ran for mayor in Philadelphia, and as soon as that ended and we started to talk to prospective candidates for the next election, we were talking about blogs and podcasts and all these things that really were not anywhere near mainstream yet, and it almost sounded like a snake oil salesman looking and predicting so far out. And today, we've really almost moved past that. I mean, there's still a place for blogs and podcasts, but in a way, for a lot of marketers and for a lot of brands, they exist, but they're not as cutting edge as they certainly were way back when, 2 years ago. So that brings us to today. So Web 2.0, user-generated content, it's social media. It was social media then, it's social media now. We've really hit mainstream though. I don't want to say everybody or almost everybody, but the volume of individuals participating in social media on both a professional and a personal level has hit an all-time high. So there's a lot of different logos up here, some very popular and probably familiar logos, some that are maybe a little bit more underground, and there's some new things. For example, Google Latitude, which was pretty much just launched, I believe it as a beta, where you can literally mesh your friends with a map. So you can literally on your iPhone or your PA, see where people are in relation to you. And it's interesting because although a year ago that might have been pushing it, I have a feeling it's going to really take off very quickly if you look at how the proliferation of using things like Facebook have become. So it's really just that next evolution. Shifting power. Consumers are absolutely gaining control, and that's something that's very difficult for marketing to get a grip on. A number of years back, marketers would put the message out there. It was finely crafted, it was tested, it was placed. Today, the consumer is in control. The consumer is extending your brand. They are doing great things for you, and sometimes they're also hurting you. So it's important to understand that and how to really connect with these consumers so that we can understand what's good and what's bad, and we can help to try to affect that from a marketing and a PR perspective. Social media is immediate and it cannot be directly controlled, but it can be influenced. And within this, there are challenges and there are opportunities. We believe that within the recession right now, this is very much a bright spot for organizations, for marketers, because from a pure cost perspective, there's a low barrier to entry for social media. That does not mean it's inexpensive, because it is very resource intensive, as was touched on earlier. But there's a big opportunity here, and I think that also with the recession, with unfortunately the rising unemployment, there are individuals with more time to participate in things like this. So all of these different factors are really driving the movement here with social media. So what does this mean for marketers? The game has changed dramatically. We've always talked about this one-to-one conversation, and we finally have it. But we have to always remember it is a very public conversation. And just as important, or more important, is that whatever you put out there possibly indefinitely. Even when you think you take down a photograph or a posting, ultimately disappears from the front page there, it's there, and when searches are ran, they will inevitably show up, caching on servers and whatnot. So you really have to think about what you're doing while you're doing it, and if possible, before you do it. Information is much less formal now. It's very difficult to script that. So again, something that we as marketers are really grappling with is, how do we get the messaging out there properly? From an agency perspective, how do we help our clients understand that they almost need to give us full control? We can't go to them for approvals on everything all the time, or they will completely miss out on what needs to happen in social media. So it's very different. It's very different for marketers, for agencies, and ultimately for the client in terms of how they relate with their agencies. The other thing is that uncovering every outlet at this point is absolutely impossible. So again, there was a time where we could say we need to be on these 5 radio stations. We want to be in these 15 magazines. Online, it's impossible to be everywhere. So what's important is finding niches, niche sites, niche forums, blogs, finding those groups within Twitter, and really connecting with your audience where they reside.